Hey everyone, Mark Feldman here. So there's a little tidbit about bounce and hand technique that I want to talk about briefly. So it occurs to me that in a lot of teaching about hand technique, and my teaching of it included, there is a lot of focus on getting the stick to bounce. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually really important. But what a lot of people don't talk about, which I think is important to talk about, and I'm putting this out there in my teaching, when you're a beginner and you're first learning, it could be easy for you to mistake that the notion is for you always to have the stick to fly back or the stick always be bouncing. And the truth is, if you think about playing the drums, there's a lot of time when you're playing where you're not really trying to use the bounce. Depending on the sound you want, you're going to do different things. So I want to make sure that all the beginner students, anyone who's just learning to play the drums from the beginning, don't mistake the idea that we need to learn how to make the stick bounce. Don't confuse that with meaning that you always play that way. You don't always play that way. When you're playing a beat on the drums, often on the hi-hat, I might do something like this, where I'm hitting the hi-hat with sort of the edge of the stick, the shank of the stick, and I'm trying to get a fat sound by doing that. So I don't care about bounce when I do that. I just want that sound. And I don't need bounce to play eighth notes, at any pretty much normal tempo that I would need to play it at. But I need that sound to be the way I need it to be in order to create the groove that I want. So that's just one example of not using bounce when you play. And there are many other examples of it as well. So I want to make sure I put that out there. Just because when we teach in technique that you need to be able to do this, it doesn't mean that that's all we do all the time. There are many instances where you're going to make a stroke that doesn't rely on any bounce at all. So you need to think about that as well. Keep that in the back of your mind. Whether you use bounce or not is going to depend on what you're trying to do, what kind of sound you're trying to get on the drums. I mean, another example of when I might use the bounce is when I'm playing the ride cymbal. A lot of times I will use the bounce, but I'll probably be doing it from this kind of a position, right, a French grip. But that being said, there's plenty of times on the ride cymbal when I won't be trying to get a bounce. I might want a different sound where I get a fatter, deader sound by holding the stick like this and striking my ride cymbal. Or when I play the bell, I'm not usually trying to get a bounce either. So those are just a couple of examples to sort of give you that outlook, that idea, that understanding that it's not always about bounce. Bounce is important. It's key to learn for your technique, but don't misunderstand. Beginner drummers, please don't misunderstand the focus on bounce for meaning that you must always play with the stick in a free stroke with a really loose grip. You need to be able to do it, but you are often going to do other things. So there you go. I put that out there. I think it's an important nuance, particularly for beginners to understand. And I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you next time.